The forest around Falcon Lake has a certain kind of quiet. On May 20th, 1967, that quiet felt different. It felt heavy. Surrounded by the familiar sounds of the Manitoba wilderness, the birds were singing their usual songs. A gentle breeze whispered through the pine and poplar trees. Suddenly, the birds stopped singing. The squirrels stopped chattering. An unnatural silence fell over the woods, a silence so complete it was deafening. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. That's when I heard it, a strange, agitated cackling sound, like a flock of geese in a panic. I scanned the bright blue sky, my eyes searching for the birds, but there was nothing. The sound grew louder, closer, and then I saw them. Two objects glowing with an intense reddish light descending from the sky at an incredible speed. Object 1, Object 2. They were unlike any aircraft I had ever seen. One of the objects stopped its descent abruptly, hovering high in the air before it shot off towards the west, vanishing in the blink of an eye. The other continued downward, getting larger and larger as it approached my position. The cackling sound was replaced by a low humming whoosh, a sound that vibrated deep in my chest. Fear, cold and sharp, pricked at my skin. I crouched behind a large rock formation, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. The craft settled silently into a small clearing on a flat rock outcrop, no more than 150 feet from where I was hiding. The air grew thick with the smell of sulfur and hot metal, a stench that burned my nostrils. For what felt like an eternity, I remained hidden, my mind racing to comprehend what I was seeing. This was no helicopter, it was no conventional plane. It was a perfect, seamless disc, about 35 feet in diameter and 10 feet high, made of a material that looked like polished stainless steel. It glowed with a soft purplish light that seemed to emanate from within the metal itself. There were no seams, no rivets, no visible signs of construction. It was a solid, impossible thing resting in the middle of the Canadian shield. The world I knew, the one with predictable rules and explanations, had just been shattered. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I cautiously stepped out from behind the rock. I decided to try to document what I was seeing, to make a record of this unbelievable event. With a trembling hand, I began to sketch the object in my notepad, noting its shape, its size, the strange colored light that pulsed from it. The air around the craft was shimmering, distorted by an intense heat that radiated outwards in waves. As I sketched, a square opening, about 2 feet by 3 feet, appeared on the side of the disc. The light from inside was blindingly bright, a stark white that hurt my eyes, making it impossible to see what or who was within. From inside that brilliant opening, I heard sounds. They were not mechanical noises, but something else entirely. Voices. They were muffled and indistinct, like a radio being tuned between stations, but they had a clear, harmonic quality. I couldn't make out any words, but it sounded like a conversation was taking place. Believing I was encountering American pilots in some sort of experimental vehicle, I called out. I tried English first, shouting a friendly hello and offering my help if their craft was in trouble. The voices inside stopped, but there was no reply. I tried again. Polish, then Russian, finally German. The only response was silence. The bright opening sealed shut as seamlessly as it had appeared, leaving no trace of a door. I grew bolder, stepping closer until I was right beside the craft. I reached out and touched its surface. My glove melted instantly from the heat. The metal was smooth like polished glass, yet incredibly hot. As I pulled my hand back, a panel on the side of the craft slid open. It was a grid of small holes about 9 inches wide and 6 inches high, looking like some kind of exhaust vent. A blast of hot gas shot out from this grid, hitting me squarely in the chest. It felt like a welder's torch. The force of the blast knocked me backward onto the ground. My shirt immediately caught fire. My undershirt immediately caught fire. I tore at them frantically, rolling on the rocky ground to extinguish the flames. The pain was excruciating, a searing, burning agony that spread across my stomach and chest. Through the haze of pain, I looked up just in time to see the craft begin to lift off the ground. It tilted at an angle and began to rotate, picking up speed as it rose into the air. The strange humming whoosh returned, and with a final powerful thrust, it shot up into the sky and was gone, leaving only the smell of sulfur and the deafening silence of the forest behind. I lay on the ground for some time, disoriented and in agony. The smell of my own burnt flesh smoldering clothes filled the air. I struggled to my feet, nausea and dizziness washed over me. My head was pounding. I gathered my things and stumbled toward the highway, desperate to get away. The journey back was a nightmare. I became violently ill, vomiting several times. I reached my motel barely able to stand. The burn on my abdomen was the most terrifying part. It wasn't a normal burn. Instead of a random scorch, it was a perfect grid of small circular dots, an exact mirror of the vent-like panel that had blasted me with hot gas. The pattern looked branded onto my skin. The photograph of my abdomen, taken days later, became an iconic piece of evidence. It shows the checkerboard burns etched into my skin, physical proof that defies explanation. The woods fell silent that day, and in some ways they remain silent, holding a secret they have yet to reveal.